Hello, Travis Knapp here. I'm going to be going over the systems presentation assignment for Aviation 435. So I chose the CRJ200's system of their engines. So this was one of the things I was least familiar with, and so I figured I would um, take the engine so I could learn something new, and hopefully when I get my regional job, this will pay off to know a little bit extra about how turbine engines work. So here we have the CRJ200's engine. It's GE General Electric's CF34 3 Bravo 1. Here's a schematic of it. There's a schematic of it, and then this is the actual picture of it. So pretty cool, beefy engine there. Just a couple things about the engine. So from the Express Jet manual, the CRJ200 is equipped with a CF31 3 Alpha 1 or 3 Bravo 1 high bypass turbofan engines. It goes on to say the 3 Bravo 1 has some improvements with the turbine and compressor fans. It gives it better fuel consumption. And then that second bullet point as well, the EASA type certificate just designates the CRJ200 as the CL600 is the airframe with the 2 Bravo 19 engines, or the 3 Bravo 1 engine, my apology. So anyway, for the CRJ200, we'll just be talking about the 3 Bravo 1 high bypass turbofan engines. All right, we're going to talk about some engine specs here. And so, yeah, 8,729 pounds of thrust being created by each of those engines. And then if the APR can increase it up to 9,220 pounds of thrust. Fuel burn is 2,183 per hour. Service ceiling is 41,000 feet. Cruise speed 0.75 Mach. And fuel capacity is 14,000 pounds. So you can do some rough math there. 14,000 pounds, fuel burns 2,000. It's got a pretty long endurance there, about 7 hours. Great. We're going to now just talk about turbofan operation, how it works, and then we'll talk a little bit more specifically about the CRJ200's engines. So up here in my top right is just a turbojet engine. And so what you have here is you have the inlet that lets air into these compressors. And as the air goes through each of these compressors, the air becomes increasingly packed together, which primes it for combustion. So you can think of this as in a piston engine, the descending piston is that compression stage. And then we have the lighting of the fuel air mixture there, and then all the thrust is produced out of the back. And then this turbine right here spins the shaft that spins the compressor blades that compresses the air. And then all the thrust is produced by that hot gas escaping out the back. And so we just mentioned the turbojet engine to contrast it with the turbofan engine, which is a similar operation. Just going to move myself up here. In that here you've got an air inlet just like before, but now we have a fan, hence the turbofan, up here at the front of the engine. And this accelerates air into the compressor blades, but it also accelerates it into the cold side of the engine here, and this is called the bypass air. And so it creates a secondary airstream. This is actually where about 80% of the thrust is generated from, is this air going around the other side that's accelerated by this one blade, the turbofan. And then the rest of this acts the same way. The air is compressed in the compression phase and then ignited, and then thrust is still produced, and then this turbine after the combustion stage is what powers the entire operation of both the fan and the compressor blades. Okay, so we're going to talk about the just what the PHAC says about some of the stuff. So the reason turbofans are almost in every commercial engine is because they're designed to create thrust that mirrors both turboprop and jet engine performance. And so just going to read this synopsis here. The turbofan bypass air generates increased thrust, cools the engine, and aids in exhaust noise suppression. This provides turbojet-like cruise speed and lower fuel consumption. Obviously, all of those are desired by the general population in air travel. And then just a bypass ratio. So the higher the bypass ratio, the more efficient a turbofan engine is. And that's just the ratio of the airflow divided by the airflow that passes through the engine core, so the actual hot part of the engine. All right, and then just a couple things about jet engines here as well from the PHAC is that we can have something called a compressor stall. So if you get too high an angle of attack, you see this air isn't getting into the engine core as it should be, and it actually creates a stall over these compressor blades, and so they no longer function like they're supposed to, and so this can cause the engine to malfunction. As well as a flame out, if we go too high an angle attack and too high a power setting, it can give us a rich flame out, or if we're descending, we could actually do a lean flame out. If we descend and pull power back, kind of like we do in our pistons, it can flame the engine out. All right, and then just a couple extra things about the engine. So engine starting, so we need a high pressure source because it's not like our starter where it's just an electrical gear that's powering our propeller. They're actually using a pneumatic source here to power a starter on the engine that starts rotating the high pressure compressor. So that's our N2 stage. And that is what is going to power the entire engine, is that N2. The N1 is what's going to accelerate air through the engine. But the N2 is critical for starting because that's what's actually moving all the fans and blades in there. So we're going to take that either from, if we've already started one engine, the bleed air from the other engine, or the APU, or something like a high pressure cart where we're getting pneumatic air from an external source. So you can see that the low pressure compressor blades here on the backside. And so once this engine gets started, that will start to power the fan blades up front of the low pressure compressors. And then just behind the combustion area here is the high pressure turbine, which powers the high pressure compressor. And those are spinning at different speeds because they have different optimal speeds. So there's some gearing in there that makes that possible. Okay, and lastly, we're just going to talk about how this is all put together and then how it interacts with the pneumatic system. So you can see here is the N1, and then here's the N2. And so in the N2 compressor blades, you've got your 10th stage bleed air and your 14th stage bleed air. And so while the engine is operating, that 14th bleed air is going to go to anti-icing and thrust reversers, and the 12th stage bleed air is going to go to engine starting of the other engine, air conditioning, and pressurization. And then I also just want to draw your attention to what we just talked about, the air-driven starter here. And you can see where that is connected to right here at the beginning of the N2 stage. It's just connected to that shaft, and that begins rotating that shaft. So that is our engines for the CRJ200. Here's my references. So I learned a lot doing this. I knew absolutely nothing walking into a turbine engine, and now I feel a lot better about at least starting to learn more about turbine engine operations.